The following video is sponsored by vend-co.com.
Good day, everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you how to play Monopoly, the Lord of the Rings 2021 edition. Now, many of you may remember that there was a Lord of the Rings edition that was made several years ago. This game plays differently than that, and I'm going to go ahead and show you all these things. I'll go ahead and start with the components. You've got your board, and as in standard Monopoly, you're going to have properties, and this, of course, is going to be synonymous with the Lord of the Rings. In place of the railroads, they have the Morgul blade, the sting, the staff, and then the bow. And in place of the utilities, they've got the blade of Narsil and the hilt of Narsil. And these are the property cards that come along with the game, and the artwork's pretty nice on them. Here's the front of one, and here's the back, and here's the one for the blade. And then here's some of them for the staff, which is really nice. And then the bow. Pretty nice artwork on these cards. Over here we have the dice. Now the ones are going to be replaced by the Eye of Sauron. If you are not the ring bearer in the game, these are going to be worth 0. If you are the ring bearer, though, and you roll this, you're going to pay a penalty. And I'll talk about how that works here in just a little bit. Here is the ring. The ring looks nice. It's got some inscriptions on here. And the tokens are really nice as well. And what you're going to do is, whoever the ring bearer is going to place this ring over their token and put it on this base over here. Now, if you have the ring, this is going to give you some certain privileges, which I'll talk about, but you have to be careful not to roll the Eye of Sauron. Right over there are the quest cards, and anytime you land on a quest space, you'll go ahead and just draw one of these cards and do what it says. And just like in regular Monopoly, these cards could either help you or hurt you. Here's what they look like. Here's one that says, you repel warg riders to keep the people of Rohan safe, collect $1 million. Here's another one that says, your captors can smell man flesh, advance to go, collect 2 million. Here's the one that says go to jail, which is over here. If you collect that, you'll of course go to jail. And there's a get out of jail free card in here as well. Here's the money in the game. You've got $1 million pieces and $5 million pieces. And you're going to pass out 5 of each of these to each player, which is going to equal $30 million. And in place of the houses and hotels, they've given you outposts, which is this, and fortresses, which are these. And throughout the game, if you end up getting a Monopoly, you'll be able to build these things onto your properties, meaning a full color set. Here are the tokens in the game. There's 9 of them, and these are really, really nice. And I'll go ahead and show them to you. Here is Boromir. Here is Pippin. Here is Frodo. Here is Sam. Here is Mary. Here is Gandalf. Here is Aragorn. Here is Gimli. And then finally, here is Legolas. And in the beginning of the game, you'll pick one of these characters and you will go ahead and place them on the go space like so. Now, some of the other spaces on the board, of course, you've got your properties here. You've got the quest space. If you land on the ring wraith space, you're going to have to pay $2 million. If you land on Gollum over here, you'll pay $1 million. Free parking, nothing is going to happen there. If you land on just visiting, you'll just stay here. If you land on the go to jail space over there, you're going to end up going to jail. And to get out of jail, you can either pay the bank $5 million, you can roll doubles on one of your next 3 turns, or if you have a get out of jail free card, you can just simply use that. Now, you can also go to jail if you end up rolling doubles 3 times in a row. Of course, if you roll doubles, you'll roll again, but if you roll 3 doubles in a row, you'll end up going to jail. So in the very beginning, everybody's going to go ahead and roll the dice to see who goes first. And whoever gets the highest number is not only going to get to go first, but they're going to be the first ring bearer. So let's just say that this character rolled the highest number and he is now the ring bearer. Now, as long as he's able to hold on to the ring, he's not going to have to worry about paying any rent. He's not going to have to pay any of these Gollum or ring wraith fees. He's not going to go to jail if he lands on the go to jail space. However, if you end up getting something like negative on a quest card, you're still going to have to do what the card says, even if it means going to jail. Now, the flip side is that whenever it is your turn, you're going to go ahead and move this little Sauron tracker on this ring tracker over here, and it goes all the way to Mount Doom. So it'll start on $1 million. So let's say I've rolled a 7. Of course, I'll go ahead and move 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now, as long as I do not roll the Eye of Sauron, I'm going to be okay. If it gets to my next turn, and I still have the ring, then it's going to go to 2 million. If it goes around again and it's still my turn, it goes to 4 million, etc. Now, the risk of this is if I end up rolling the Eye of Sauron, I'm going to have to end up paying the bank whatever the penalty is. In this case, it would be $4 million. Now, another interesting thing is if I'm able to get to the $4 million space over here, if you pass go, normally you would collect $2 million. In this case, you would collect $4 million. If you're able to get all the way to the $16 million space, anybody that lands on your property is going to have to pay you double whatever the rent is. Now, if you're able to get all the way to Mount Doom, this is going to go ahead and trigger the end of the game. Now, throughout the game, if you are a player that doesn't have the ring, and let's just say this character rolled this, and Sauron is going to equal 0, he has two choices. He can either go the full 4, or he can land on the space with the person with the ring and battle him for it. And what each player would do is that they would just simply roll the dice, and whoever has the higher number would get the ring. So let's just say this character got the ring, it would then switch to him. Now, if the ring bearer passes somebody, if he wants to, he can give him, the player on that same spot, the ring, and he's going to have to take it. And anytime the ring is swapped, or if someone else takes possession of it, this tracker is going to go all the way back to the start section over here. This player ended up rolling the Eye of Sauron. What he's going to do is he's going to end up losing the ring, and he's going to place it on the space where he lost it. He'll go ahead and pay the penalty, and then he'll go ahead and move that amount of spaces that he rolled. This tracker is going to go all the way back to the start section over here. Now, anybody that comes across the ring on one of their future turns or whatever will be able to pick it up and take possession of it like so. Now, of course, on your turn, you'll go ahead and roll, and you'll move that amount of spaces. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's just say I rolled an 8 here. I've landed here on the Fort of Brunnen. If it is not owned, I will have the opportunity to purchase it. If I wish to purchase it, I will pay the amount that is listed over here. In this case, it would be $1 million. And then I will go ahead and receive the property card. Now, if somebody else lands on this property in the very beginning, they'll pay me this amount in rent over here. If it turns out that I have the complete color set, which is the Monopoly, they're going to end up paying me this much. Now, if I decide to, if I end up having all the groups, the colors in the set, I'll be able to go ahead and build outposts and fortresses. And in order to do that, you would just simply pay the amount that is over here, and you would build evenly. So let's just say I decide I wanted to build 3 of these outposts. I'd go ahead and pay the bank that amount of money, and then I would go ahead and build like this. And then it would be 2, and then 3, and then 4. And then once you were able to get 4, you could go ahead and build one of these, and then you would just simply pay the cost that is on here. And of course, the significance of this is if somebody lands on your property and you happen to have some outposts over there, they're going to end up paying you the amount that is listed under the amount of outposts or the fortress that you have. Now, with the blade, the sting, the staff, and the bow, this is going to depend on how many of each of these that you have. So if you have just the sting, if someone lands on it, they'll pay you $1 million. But if you happen to have 2, 3, or 4 of the weapons, say I had this one and this one, they would go ahead and pay me this amount. And if I happen to have all 4 of them, they would go ahead and pay me this amount. When it comes to the blade of Narsil and the hilt of Narsil, this is going to depend on the die roll. So if someone lands on this and it is owned, they'll go ahead and roll one die to determine the rent, and whatever they roll, that's how much they're going to owe. So if someone landed on this, I rolled a 5, I would owe them $5 million. I end up owning both of the hilts, and they're going to have to roll both dice. Now, if it turns out I'm moving and I land on a property and I don't want it, then the property is going to go ahead and go up for auction. Auctions will start at $1 million, and they can go up incrementally in $1 million, and whoever ends up bidding the highest will end up taking over and will end up taking the property. And if nobody wants to buy the property, then the property is just going to stay where it is. Now, if you are the ring bearer and you end up landing or passing the player, you do not have to pass the ring if you do not want to. That is totally up to you. Now, in this game, if you wish, you can do deals and trades just like in standard Monopoly. You can trade properties, you can sell properties. Now, in the game, if you want, you can end up mortgaging the property, and this is if you want to try to raise money. You'll just simply flip the card over. This property is worth $1 million, so I'd flip this over and get $1 million from the bank. If I wish to unmortgage it later, I would just simply pay the bank the $1 million back and then flip it back over. Now, if during a deal or trade, somebody ends up getting the mortgaged property, they could either keep it mortgaged or they can go ahead and pay the mortgage value off and then flip it over. And if the property is mortgaged and someone lands on it, they're not going to end up owing you any money. If you end up landing on a property or you end up landing on something and you have to pay money and you can't pay it, what you'll have to do first is you just try to sell off things. The first thing you'll have to try to sell off are any buildings that you have, and this is going to be worth half the value. And after you've sold the buildings, You can then go ahead and try to mortgage the properties to raise more money. If after doing all that you still can't pay, then you're going to end up going bankrupt. If you end up going bankrupt to a player, you're going to give him all of your mortgaged properties and a get out of jail free card if you have it. If it turns out you go bankrupt to the bank, you'll give up all of your properties. They will automatically get unmortgaged, and then they're automatically going to go ahead and go up for auction. And any get out of jail free cards will be placed back in the deck. Now, the game's going to end in one or two ways. If the tracker reaches Mount Doom, that is going to go ahead and trigger the end of the game. And if only one player is left remaining after everybody goes bankrupt, that'll also trigger the end of the game. But if the game ends up with someone ending up on Mount Doom, then whoever owns the ring, in this case, is going to receive $15 million. And then everybody is going to go ahead and collect rent for all the properties that they have. And then everybody will go ahead and count up their money. And whoever has the most amount of money in the game is going to win.
Need extra income? Check out this opportunity. You can invest in a vending machine from vend-co.com, and they will place it in a business or office for you. You keep all the money that the machine makes. For more information, check out the link in the description.